I think One Piece should be taught in schools. It's not about being taught a specific thing in school. It's about how you teach it. And I think if I were to like have One Piece references throughout my time in high school or junior high, whatever it is. I mean, I didn't start watching One Piece till 3 years ago. I think I was like 25 or 24 going on 25. But I think I would have been better in school having references to something I'm interested in, like any sane person would be. Because now that anime has been like this huge thing ever since the pandemic, like you see like the interest in anime go up, while also test scores and reading comprehension and stuff goes down in schools from what they're saying online and in the news. So like imagine having One Piece references, and if you watch One Piece, you know that the historical influences that it has. Like for example, you have O'Hara and the Library of Alexandria parallel. Both places have insane amounts of books, knowledge, historical stuff, but it was burned down. We don't know why the reason the Library of Alexandria got burned down, but we also know that O'Hara was burned down or had a buster call on them because the world government, wanted to hide the information that they were researching, which is a direct reflection of what's going on here with our government trying to censor stuff. So I think school would have been way more interesting if teachers would just, and this is media too, like you're supposed to do whatever it takes to get kids engaged. And the way I was taught 10 years ago isn't the same way people are gonna or kids are gonna get taught now. So meet them where they're at. Teach them about. I know there's some adult topics, but we're also learning about adult things in high school. Like we're learning about how to vote because I was turning 18 and I think the election was coming up. This is like 2016. It's like you got like meet them where they're at. If you want to talk about censorship, government influence, corruption, like bring up the world government in One Piece. If you want to talk about slavery, if you want to talk about trafficking, all these like adult topics are addressed in One Piece. And you would think Oda is a freaking, he's a genius, but you think he's a freaking psychic or future teller, just how he's able to predict these things. Like one predict, and I say predict because of Punk Hazard. If you really dive into it and think about the themes that are in Punk Hazard with kids, I'm gonna leave it right there. But it's just kind of what's going on today. It's kind of like, okay, how did he know about this? But that's besides the point. I just think kids would be more receptive to learning and be more invested in learning if they were interested. Again, it's not as simple as, oh, there are 6 pirate crews minus 3 pirate crews equals 3 more pirate crews. It's more of like, again, these topics that need to be discussed. I saw something on Twitter where one person, I think it was like a science or math teacher, he was explaining like physics or width or whatever, and it's like Luffy like stretching his mouth, and he's like drawing measurements, like okay, he stretches this far. How long would it like stuff like that? People be more interested in characters that they know, people that they recognize, people that they watch on a daily basis, instead of Sally had a rubber band and she could stretch it this far. Luffy can stretch. They're automatically invested. Oh, how does my teacher know about Luffy? Oh, my teacher watches anime too. Now I'm more invested in solving this word problem to prove or to validate my love for One Piece. That like, and in that validation, thinking of like, oh yeah, I know about One Piece, is that kid is learning by their own free will. It's more than just giving kids books and saying, read this, read that, do this word problem, because that's how they grow up being miserable. That's how they just grow up like hating school and not wanting to learn. Because I feel like that need to learn is developed in school. But if you don't have teachers that are willing to like meet kids where they're at, because I got lucky. Obviously, my teacher, Miss Berry, is one of the best teachers I've ever had. She was my government teacher, and I was already interested with like the stuff going on in the world, and I was just always ask her questions. But I got lucky, and I was automatically interested and bought into her class. But imagine if I was into anime at that time and One Piece, I think in 2016 was Dressrosa. You talk about, state manipulation, putting people against each other, war. Imagine if I would have learned that and had made references, like if I'm getting a test about like whatever we're learning in class and like making references to Dressrosa or prior arcs. Imagine like, and I wasn't like a dumb kid. I definitely didn't try as much, but I imagine if I would have just applied, like made these references, these One Piece references, like, oh my God, this is just like this. And I think Oda does it that way, where like he takes these real world examples and flips it and like kind of makes it like whimsical in a way to like fit his story, to fit One Piece, where like you're being taught real history. You're being taught real history. Fiction. It's fiction, obviously, but it's based off of real history, where you can easily make that comparison and draw that connection. So One Piece is just like, and y'all are going to see me talk about this show throughout this channel. Like I cannot get enough of it, because it's just awesome. It's just, and I don't mean to make it like, I don't mean to make One Piece like all encompassing and the great, like I do think it's the greatest thing ever. What I'm trying to say is that I don't want to make it seem like the political stuff and this, like it's a great show regardless, based off of storytelling, world building, character development, everything. I just think that like if you use the approach to One Piece, if you take One Piece as like a basis of how to learn something or how to understand something better, I think people, like kids, will understand these complex topics you expect them to learn at a certain age. I don't have a solution for reading, but in terms of complex topics, you have kids graduating high school, they don't know what anything is, but they can talk your ears off about anime. I could talk your ears off about anime, especially One Piece. In a world where like innovation is key, innovation breeds success and new things, you have to be like innovative on how you teach people. And it's not like, and I know Mr. Beast was like, oh, if you just put it in the video, they'll I'm sure they'll understand it. It's much more than like a video. Like you need interaction. You need real world examples. Like how you learn something isn't how somebody else is going to learn something. And I know not everybody watches One Piece, but anything is better than just a textbook and doing things that were done in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Anything would be better than how kids are being taught today. And I know things were a little harder. I know things are a little bit different because things are all online now. But like, how do you bring kids back into the classroom and have them engage with the material and retain the material? It's by meeting them where they're at, teaching them about math. If Sniper King shoots a snake bomb grass 40 meters, what's the diameter? Just bullshit like that. Science. If Nami's climate attack has ice, water, and condensation, what are the three states, or states of matter, whatever it is, just something like that. History, obviously, One Piece is solely based on history. So that's already a given. What else? Math, science, history, English. I can't really tell you much about English, but Nico Robin, News Coups, Morgue, something. There's so much material to go off of to make people engaged. I just think that, like, I'm not saying One Piece should be taught as a class, but sprinkle stuff in there where kids can be bought in. What I will say is, though, I think One Piece should be taught as a course in college, should be examined, studied, write papers on. I had a class, spring of 2017, called Rhetoric of Fandom. And at this point in my life, I'm just obsessed with MCU and superheroes and this and just basic surface level stuff, where I'm just not like, I'm not thinking about the stuff I'm consuming. I'm not thinking deeper. It wasn't until like 2019, 2020 where I like started thinking about like, what am I consuming? And like, can I think deeper into these topics? Can I how does this affect me in the real world? What are the themes in this show or this movie? So if I would have known about One Piece in 2017, I'm pretty sure I would have finished. I finished with like a B. And honestly, I didn't really like doing the research on the MCU. I think it was kind of like in its peak in that point. I think Avengers was going to come out Avengers, Infinity War was gonna come out the next year. But if I would have known about One Piece at that time, I definitely would have, that would have been my fandom. That would have been the thing I was a fan of. I would have written insane papers. I would have cited insane sources. I would have answered every quiz, every question, everything that had to relate in that class that we had to do that was mandatory. I would have done that all by myself, like willingly, just to validate my love for that fandom, for One Piece. If kids were to do the same thing, imagine how much better, one, they would feel about themselves being, good in class again, and how good they would feel seeing their grades improve. Teachers are happy, knowing that something's working. They'd be willing to incorporate more stuff into their classes, into their lessons, It's just a topic that was in my notes. I was like, you know what? Let me talk about One Piece being in schools. That was good. Just another yap session, man. If you're seeing this 3, 4, 5 years from now, add One Piece to the curriculum. It could be done by time in 3, 4, 5 years. So you have enough material to pull from. So yeah, add One Piece to your classes. Add One Piece to your lessons. I promise you, people will learn. And that's it for the video, guys.